Welcome to episode 427 of the Red Dirt Agronomy Podcast. I am Dave Deacon, and have we got a fun episode for you. We've all been there, standing in a pasture or a field, trying to identify what the plant is and wishing we'd paid more attention in class. Well, today we're talking with Dr. Beatrix Haggard, an associate professor at Oklahoma State University's Plant and Soil Sciences Department, who specializes in making sure every student that enters the department knows without a doubt what plant they are looking at, and more importantly, how that plant works. We'll learn about her teaching-focused role, her path from FFA soil judging to soil science, and how hands-on classes and judging teams prepare the next generation of agronomy and ag professionals. We'll talk with Dr. Haggard in just a minute, but first, if you're new to the Red Dirt Agronomy Podcast, welcome. Go ahead and hit that follow button where you get your podcast so you will always have the latest information as soon as it drops. And as always, you can find links to the resources and past episodes that we have on our website, reddirtagronomy.com. Before we dive into the episode, let's take a quick trip around the table to introduce the dream team of dirt and everything that grows from it. Starting with Oklahoma State University Extension Precision Nutrient Management Specialist.
Me not knowing what a grain drill was or a cultivator was an oddity back in the 90s and early 2000s.
Dr. Brian Arnell. And across from him is Oklahoma State University Extension Cropping System Specialist.
When we were in school, we never would have thought of somebody from New York coming down to Oklahoma State.
Dr. Josh Lofton. And rounding things out is a postdoc in the Plant and Soil Sciences Department.
I started talking, people are like, I don't know what that means.
Dr. Radon Sherry. Now, with all the formalities out of the way, let's kick off our conversation with Dr. Beatrix Haggard that was recorded on October 16th, 2025. So without further ado, on to the episode. You are listening to the Red Dirt Agronomy Podcast. Josh,
Dave, introduce her.
I'll let you.
I'm a biased participant. I'm just going to sit here.
Okay, Radon, introduce our guest.
And all fingers point
Send it around the table.
I can introduce myself.
See.
Well, that seems a little rude, though, if we don't do that.
Happy to have on today with us Dr. Haggard, Dr. Beatrix Haggard, who is our professor in crops teaching. She handles the majority of our crops courses along with our crops judging courses, and so she gets to spend a lot of time with the little minions and heathens that run around, the 20-somethings.
We don't like to call them that, Brian.
We're not. This is why it's not an OSU podcast. Is I can call them whatever I want to.
That's okay. I call them kiddos.
Kiddos.
Yeah, they're kiddos.
Not quite minions and heathens, but they have potential.
Same ballpark.
You should teach.
Right.
So B, can you tell us a little bit about the courses you teach and what you do here at Oak State?
Sure. So thanks for having me here. My classes are a lot of the undergrad type courses. So primarily the biggest class that I teach is Plant 1213. And so for that course, we average around 600 students a year right now between the fall and the spring semester. The fall semester is the biggest. So we've got 450 students this semester, and they are just all lovely little angels. Like they're great.
No minions and heathens.
No, absolutely not. I think this semester actually is really good for 1213. So it's primarily freshmen in the course, and so trying to make that to where it's kind of their first steps coming in to OSU and teaching them how to take notes, hopefully, and how to actually use their computer. Somewhat saving files is really difficult sometimes. And so that is kind of a service class across Ferguson. And then we are even getting students outside of Ferguson in that course now. And then we've got our Plant 2013, which is a sophomore level course. It's applied plant science. And in that class, we get to get out in the field. We're in the greenhouse. They all have their projects in the greenhouse called Keep Me Alive, and they get to grow weeds and crops, and they get to find out that growing weeds is really hard inside of a greenhouse. So as easy as they pop up outside, that is not the case inside a greenhouse. They don't want to grow then. And so that's a really good class for our students that are going out to consulting type positions. So we're getting growth stages and things like that, and that before they go out during the summer a lot of times. We have a crops judging class that's a plant and seed ID. And so that course, it's just a whole lot of looking at plants and seeds. And then we have senior seminar that I teach in the fall. And so that's for all of our outgoing students in their last year. And many of you at this table have come in there and talked to those students to give them some kind of real world demos. We've had Chelsea with career coming in to talk to them about even job negotiations and things like that.
Wow.
So cost of living and all of those fun discussions. What else do I teach? There is morphology, but I feel like there's something else. So plant morphology. Soil morphology is a class that Dr. Abbott and I have been teaching together for, I guess this will be our third year this next spring. And even though I teach a lot of the lower level plant courses, the soils is kind of my original background for soil morphology. And so that's where that comes into play.
The brag we have for Dr. Haggard I liked is that we get a lot of students that take her course that are maybe in another department, and she's able to usually convince a couple every semester to come over. So her and Dr. Abbott are amazing recruiters to get kids to see the truth of where they need to be and not where they are, and bringing them across. So she does an amazing job of bringing them in. And she kind of hinted on it, is that especially in our department, where you end up may not be where you start. And so tell us a little bit about your background, the evolution to end up teaching a lot of crops courses, even though that's not your training.
Sure. So
It's a small child.
I can go back that far. I always wanted to be a geologist. And so we'll go back far. And whenever I got into high school, I was showing cattle. So I got involved in FFA because I was in 4-H before that. And whenever I was in FFA, my ag teacher wouldn't let me be on the livestock judging team, which is what I had done in 4-H. And he told me that I had to do soils judging. And his exact phrase was, "I need someone that can actually learn this information." And so I'm like, okay. So I got put on soils judging in high school, or land judging at that point. And with that, then went to Tarleton for all of the state contests in Texas. My sister actually is part of this story, and she had been at Tarleton for a wildlife major, took the soils course at Tarleton, met Dr. Weindorf, and was like, "You need to meet this person." And so I had already been looking at Tarleton for undergrad. I went and met him before even enrolling or doing anything else at Tarleton. And he told me, "If you want a job, when you get here, let me know and I'll get you a job in the soils lab."
Oh, wow.
And so that was as a high school senior, applied, started at Tarleton as an agronomy and range management major with a soil science emphasis and a minor in geology, and started working in the soils lab there. Got involved on the soils team at Tarleton, and took a whole lot of soils and geology courses because that's what I really wanted to do. And I often told people that just scrape off the plants and work with the soil.
Yeah.
Dr. Weindorf went to LSU, and so I followed him there and continued on with soil science. At one point, I actually wanted to be an anthropologist or an archaeologist, and so that was the geology side of things. And so whenever I was just like, nope, I'm going to go full in on soils, followed him to LSU, and that's where I did my PhD. I met Josh at LSU.
This Josh?
This Josh.
Okay. I thought I've seen you guys around campus together. Okay.
There you go.
And so finished out my degree with soils, met Josh. We ended up at a research station. That does not lead to a lot of soils teaching positions, which is what I had always wanted to do, was teach at some point in time. We were 3 hours away from campus, and so I started working as a regional soil fertility specialist, tying in the soils background, learning about plants. I tell students, don't worry, you'll figure things out, because my first week on the job, I had to go look at growth stages on about over 300, 600 soybean plots I had my clipboard.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to find where the first row was of this entire variety trial that I did not plant. So the person had left mid-year.
Oh, jeez.
And then I was having to rate the soybean maturity groups on a plant that was probably one of the first times that I actually really looked at a soybean plant.
Got a lot of phone calls that day.
There were a lot of phone calls. It was, Josh, what am I looking for on pod color again?
What's a soybean?
Yeah.
I told her all the way through PhD, you need to learn this plant stuff. You need to learn that. We even have a publication because her PhD is, she looked at soil temperature regimes across the Transylvanian plains in Romania. And so she went and collected all this data in Romania, and then we put a publication together about growing degree days and what crops have some viability. And I think corn was the
Yeah, it was
specialist.
corn.
So it's like corn viability across the Transylvanian plain, where it fit in and all that. And I was like, eventually you should probably learn this plant stuff. She's like, nah, I don't need to learn this plant stuff.
Look at you now.
Yeah, joke's on me. But it's a really good teaching tool because I tell students all the time, you get your degree, but the whole point of college is to learn how to learn. And after that, you can apply that to anything. And so I got my PhD in soil formation. Then my first real big adult job was working on a research station, dealing with a lot of crops. And I think it all settled out well because even whenever I came in for my interview here, and I remember you asking, Brian, how do we take how you learned all of this in 3 years and translate that to teaching students? And I'm like, you throw them into the fire, essentially. Like that is how you train someone of, you don't have a choice. Here you go. Here's your clipboard and get after it.
Man, that's a good question.
That is a very good question. Yeah.
Somebody must have given it to you.
Probably. I heard it on a podcast. So what about teaching? Just, you said, that's what I want to do. What is it about teaching that's your passion?
I think a few different things. I really enjoy seeing when people kind of get the light bulb moment, and for anything, like as soon as it clicks, it's like, yes, they finally got that. But I think even as a younger child, throughout high school, then into college, even one of the things that I've always enjoyed is kind of taking information and breaking it down for people. And I think that's where a lot of college professors sometimes get into a little trouble, is they try to keep everything at this level that then becomes unattainable for some students. And the ability to put something in layman terms, or and I'm not going to say dumb it down because it's not even that, but it's really taking something and explaining it to where anybody can understand. It's things that I enjoy doing. And sometimes it's really stupid things like coming up with little sayings and quotes to remember something. This will be my soils nerd moment, and Brian can appreciate this because there's a thing called the Lyotropic series, and it is the order in which things will bind first, and it all has to do with how big of a sphere that those elements have. And the way that I still remember that is all cats manage kittens ammonium naturally, and I can still put the Lyotropic series out from sophomore year of undergrad because of the little mnemonic device. So
All cats.
aluminum, calcium.
Yeah, calcium.
Wow.
Hydrogen. Aluminum, hydrogen.
That's interesting.
Calcium, magnesium.
But I mean,
Calcium, ammonia,
and it's shut up, Brian.
I will not.
And it's the interesting thing because so I worked for this position whenever I was coming through school here. Dr. Hickman was teaching it, and I worked for Dr. Hickman. So I think originally coming through, I was like, that would be a nice position to have one day for me to do. But it kind of, even though me and Brian teach, it's one of those things that we get them much further along in their developmental career. And so she teaches photosynthesis, and she makes it fun and stuff like that. And I'm like, just teach them photosynthesis. She's like, but they're not going to learn it. And I'm like, make them learn it. And it's like, that's not how freshmen do. No. And it's important because teaching, like you said, learn how to learn, and sometimes it's breaking it down early, and then by the time they get to us, it's like, okay, now you need to learn, but they've gone through those steps, and
sometimes we reteach those steps, like fertilizer calculations.
Well, but I teach photosynthesis again and most of them don't remember it, but it's again relearning it multiple different ways. Hopefully it'll stick one of those ways.
So I want to shift a little bit to Josh here. So Josh has done something very few academics ever do, which is add teaching to their thing. He has removed, so Josh started out as extension research, and what you would typically see in academia is less extension, more research a lot of the times. So that extension is not something that's all that popular. But he just went contrary to everything and said, let me teach. So is it because of B? Is it because of your own? Where has your desire to teach come into fray, and how do you guys work together?
I mean, my desire to teach was always there. It was never as much as hers was. So whenever we were looking for jobs, it was always like, if we can find you a teaching one, I'll figure out whatever along the way. And extension is just another form of teaching.
It is.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's fun. That I always say that neither audience really wants to be there. We provide one of them lunch and one of them college credit, and that's the reason why they sit in those seats. But
That's brilliant. It's true, 100%.
But I mean, it's very similar. That I enjoy the context of. And really and truly, hopefully at one point in my career, I'm just to extension and teaching, because I enjoy teaching the same subjects and doing it to different audiences. Dr. Clary, who's the head of teaching here in the College of Ag, always talks about, the learners make the teaching, and so you have to teach differently to different audiences. And I think it's fascinating. I think it's fun to be able to take the same subject matter and break it down two different ways for an educator, consultant, a landowner versus the students. And I always tell them, it's like on this side where we're going to the landowner, we're wanting to teach them, or we're wanting to tell them about the background and then tell them how to do this in their farm, in their very specific instance, where the students, we want to have them go to these individuals later on in their career and work through their individual components. So you have to teach them the science behind it. These folks just want management, and that's fine. So the same subject gets taught two very different ways, whether you're teaching from an extension standpoint or you're teaching from an educational standpoint. So I find the fun in that, but I've always liked extension. I think I hold to the Warren side of extension, that as long as my mouth is moving, that's kind of extension to me. So,
much to Dave's dismay.
Whatever. So, I mean, when we were going through this whole thing, she had this passion to get into the classroom, and so when we were trying to find a place to come and to stay, it was always going to be, if we could find a teaching one, that was going to be hers. If we could find two teaching, that'd be great, but that rarely comes about.
So B, was there hesitation when it looked at OSU and you being so strong on the soils background to see that the OSU was looking for a plant specific? Was there much hesitation, or you're just like, no, I can figure it out?
There was definitely hesitation, but the teaching kind of overcame the hesitation on that. I'll take, at that point in time, it was 85% teaching, 15% extension. My position at LSU had been 50-50 for research and extension, which I always tell people, don't do it. Don't do 50-50. And so coming here, the 85% teaching, it's a unicorn. And the fact that in any land grant institution across the U.S. finding that high of teaching.
In our college or in our department.
Well, in our department, but even being tenure track. All of the people that I work with at Crops team, all of the other coaches, except for maybe one, are non-tenure track. They're adjunct teaching faculty. Iowa State.
Really?
Crookston. This is a weird position when it comes to looking across the the U.S. K-State, their position is tenure-track, but it has a research component. And so it's shifted from what it used to be. And so because of that, it's like, I'll figure out the crop side for teaching. And like I said, the 3 years at LSU working with producers, I got a lot of windshield tractor combine, cotton picker time with producers in Louisiana. And I think if anything, coming from the Delta region to here has brought some very different perspective just because it is such a huge farming area. And there are regions in Oklahoma that are similar, but it's not usually to that extent at all.
Well, I think when this position came open, because both of our positions were open at the same time, I think I called you and I said, "Is it going to be possible?" Sure, why not? Anything's possible. So that's why I was like, okay, we can do this. We can make this work. And I think back in our house in Louisiana, we even had PowerPoint of like the whole photosynthesis thing. And it's like, okay, you know this cycle, but you don't use the right terms. So let's use the right terms now. And it was, it was hard, but she came and knocked it out of the park. And it was, the rest is history kind of thing.
And it's really strong for us is that we did have for OSU in our department that position was hard to lock down for a while. It had been in flux for a while, and Dr. Haggard has come in and really put stability into it.
Never been tenured since Donnelly, right? Yeah.
And so I'd been through enough. Like I'd seen between those that had taught me and then were teaching when I was a grad student, then during my time, and to get somebody like Dr. Haggard in to provide stability. And the really great thing about our department, and a brag on the department, is we have two in that. We have Sergio Abbott and Beatrix, and they're really the foundation to our department, because you have to have that stability in the teaching of the I don't want to call it the basics, but it is the basics, the fundamental groundwork for everything we do, and having those two in here, stable names across the communities, both in and outside of Oklahoma, has been huge.
Well, and you asked a question a while ago on how we interact, and the teaching side is, there's probably more than a couple of dinner conversations that are like, okay, what are you teaching them about this? And it's like, because we got to get our story straight. That way they're getting it, because whenever I'm teaching the upper division plant classes and she's doing most of it, so then it's like, okay, we need to make sure that we're consistent with our terms, are consistent with our story, consistent all the way through. So yeah, it's been good to be able to sit there and be like, okay, give me the but what are you talking about here? And not the normal dinner conversation to some, but
no, it was research before, so it's one or the other. Yeah.
Talk about your judging teams. Why is that important, and what do your students get out of it?
So I think they get a lot of different things out of it. So having done soils judging myself in college, I just told students today even that a lot of what you are getting is skill building outside of the judging team. And then you get to travel. That is one thing that people sometimes don't talk about with judging teams. There's a lot of travel. It's usually getting you out of state. We go in the fall to Kansas City and Chicago every year. And then our spring contest is NACTA. And so that one kind of rotates around the U.S. But my first year taking a group to Kansas City and Chicago, it was one of my grad students' first time to cross the Mississippi River.
Wow.
And so stuff like that, I'm like, that is crazy, but it's really cool to get to experience that travel experience with students. It could be the furthest that student has ever been outside of the state of Oklahoma.
Wasn't the time you guys went to California one of the students' first time on an airplane?
Yep.
Wow.
Never been on an airplane before.
And so for me, things like that, it's like you are getting to experience some pivotal moments for these students throughout judging contests that have nothing to do with teaching them anything other than getting to travel and go see new places. And so that's really fun. The skills, just general life skills. So learning how to learn again, but dealing with people. There's nothing like a 15-hour car ride that can hopefully build some good ability to actually learn to deal with other people. So I always consider it a great judging trip if we make it home and everyone's still talking to each other.
It's a win.
Yep.
Yeah.
Over the time. So when did you come to OSU?
We got here in 2015.
2015. So we're a solid 10 years in. Have you seen over the last 10 years any changes in the style of learning in your students? This is basically to me a pre and post COVID kind of question.
I don't know if style, there's been some style changes. I think the biggest thing is students aren't completely locked in to the university anymore. And I think that that's been shifting even since before COVID, where a lot of us, you came to college, you were here for that entire week and semester, but now students are either working full-time jobs or they're going home every weekend, they're doing other things. So I think just some of the ability to have students really integrated more into campus is hard because they've got 20 other things that they're going and doing. And sometimes that's supporting themselves, which is very important. But it does shift kind of how the dynamic, you can't just say, well, go to the library all weekend and study for this because they've got other stuff.
And maybe it's just me, but it seems like the amount of concurrent courses and the amount of hours students have coming into campus is increasing. I just talked to a mother yesterday who was, she wants her daughter who's getting an accounting degree to get a job with a seed company, which is another question. But, she is talking about taking the CCA. It's like, my girl can study. She graduated high school at 17 with her associates. So she's going to be out of college before she's 19, which is insane. But are you seeing more of that where they're coming in, not necessarily younger, but coming in at a higher level of college as far as concurrent classes?
That's still a mix. Okay. I'm the weird person that I went into college with 29 hours.
I was about to say, she's been an overachiever since the beginning, too. So.
I'm all about experience, not hours.
Oh, yeah. Drag that thing out now.
So there are a lot of students that come in with hours, but then we actually have a lot of students that come in with none. Which I, in some ways, think is kind of the oddball now to not have any because, and I think those are usually the smaller town students where maybe they don't have AP courses that are available. They don't have a close by community college offering dual enrollment or dual credit. But they still exist. We're seeing both sides kind of equally.
And we do, our department has always historically been a big department for transfer students. So at least 50% of our kids would have gotten an associate's at a JUCO. Are we still seeing that, or what's that look like nowadays?
We're probably closer to a quarter or less transfer. I'm not sure on the transfers whether or not some students just wanted to jump into OSU or if some of the transfers are going to smaller universities. We still get transfers and we still get a decent number, but that has gone down from what it has been historically.
Well, I think when our department was historically Oklahoma students, that was probably a big thing. But when they're coming in from California, and we had a whole group in our class. 2 of them were internationals. One was from Montana. One of them was from Ohio. We said a little place in Oklahoma, and they're like, I have no idea where that is because they've never been outside of Stillwater area in Oklahoma. So I think would you say that kind of is part of a reason?
Distribution as far as geographic now?
So our California numbers are up. Ferguson goes and does a lot of recruiting out of California because of some locations that people are originally from. And so that has increased our entire West Coast presence. I think that we're probably half and half right now. So I would say half of our students are usually Oklahoma, and then the other half are from out of state somewhere. So whether that's California, we get a lot of Oregon and Washington as well. And then Texas is going to be a big one. And then we've got our handful of Kansas students. And then you'll get some of those random. So we have 2 students from Indiana right now. And so, we're kind of all over.
It seems like our Midwest presence is drastically growing. There's been a lot from Indiana, as just said, Purdue's too expensive, or it's a different culture that I don't want. But hearing folks from now Ohio and Illinois and Minnesota, and I'm like, that's
Yeah.
That's a little bit different than saying Purdue is a little too much for them, kind of thing.
I'm trying to think back to the late 80s, early 2000s. I would say our department then, when I was in undergrad, probably closer to 85% Okies. And the others heavily would be border county, Texas, and Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
Like we had a lot from Barber County, Kansas, or we might have just north of DFW, that region. But it was predominantly Oklahoma and the surrounding area was our department.
That student last night was from New York?
So he's not one of our students, but he's a Ferguson.
But
student.
he's Ferguson.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Ferguson itself is
New York.
Yeah.
I mean, would have when we were in school, we never would have thought of somebody from New York coming down to Oklahoma State.
We wouldn't have thought of Illinois or even Missouri really coming to Oak State.
Well, and right now we have a Missouri student. We have an Arkansas. One of our new freshmen from Texas is like South Texas.
Wow.
Like South Texas.
I just visited with a young lady a week ago coming in. She's bound and determined to come here from Kentucky. And she's right next to
Lexington.
There's that little there's a little university, a little 4-year program. Murray State. Yeah.
Murray.
She's right by that. But her two choices, she's deciding Murray State versus Oklahoma State. I'm like, those are
very different.
not even
Wow.
But so I mean we've got Kentucky, and it's interesting how our department's grown and been diversified.
Well, and maybe you can talk about this, but it's interesting how many of our students are now coming out. So me coming from a suburb of a metro area in Oklahoma, I was an oddball
You were.
in our department.
You
whenever
still are.
I still am, yeah. But we're having a lot more of our students from Edmond, from Oklahoma City, from from those little suburbs around those. It's not like we're only, even our Oklahoma kids. It's not like we're rural only in our department anymore. It's a pretty wide swath of kids.
Even me, I mean, I was rural, but I was not farm background. I was an oddity, right? So you were extremely weird being from Metro, but I mean, me not knowing what a grain drill was or a cultivator was an oddity back in the 90s and early 2000s.
Now you're the oddity.
Yeah, I am.
Yes, you are.
I discovered that. I started talking. People are like, I don't know what that means.
That might not just be your background.
Well, it happens.
So since you are one of the foundational classes in Ferguson in Plant Soil Sciences Department, what are some of the majors of the students that are coming in, and how have they changed over their educational process? They come in, I'm going to be the next soil nutritionist, and then, it turns out actually, right? But it turns out I like trees. So,
So just within plant and soils, or just within everything?
Just everything that you see.
So, going to throw me under the bus here.
It's okay.
So, I mean, if you look at Plant 1213, probably the biggest shift is all of the students that are pre-vet.
Oh, really?
I mean, there's just so many of them. Like, there's a lot of ANSI students, whether or not they're pre-vet or whatever they might be. And then they start to kind of shuffle around. And it's not always grades. Sometimes they get into some of the classes and it's just like, oh, this is maybe not what I actually want to do.
Which is what college is about.
Right, yeah. And there's a lot of shuffling that happens. So sometimes students are in ANSI, pre-vet, or AgCom or something, and then they end up switching to ag econ or ag business. And ag business probably is one of the ones that I see a lot of shift to. I think it's the idea that a business degree is very broad, general, and an ag business degree, you get the ag side plus the business. And so there's a lot of shifting to that because it's flexible.
Right.
It is at least my take. Maybe there's another reason, but it gives them some flexibility. For us, we end up gaining a lot of just random students. So like Brian said, whenever they transfer, either after taking my class or Sergio's class, we'll get ANSI sometimes, we'll get ag business sometimes. We have gotten AgCom. I think that we have probably pulled from every single option at the university. And you just never know. And sometimes they're like, I just really like plants now. And I'm happy that that's the case, because I usually tell students we don't get a lot of incoming students because we're not warm and fuzzy like animals.
Right.
We have fuzzy plants, but they are not cuddly. So that's our problem of selling point of trying to get students to really enjoy, but trying to make them remember, like, we are what feed all of the animals. So it is a very important part of what they're doing as well.
Raiden, anything?
I'm kind of mush right now, I'm not gonna lie.
It's because all of us are like permanently frozen in this room.
I actually had to put on my jacket. It is a little chilled in here.
My feet are wet and it's cold.
Well, Dr. Haggard, thank you so much for coming on with us. This has been a lot of fun, and we look forward to having you on again. And thank you for putting up with Josh.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening in on this conversation of the Red Dirt Agronomy podcast. If you'd like to join the next discussion, leave us a message on our website, reddirtagronomy.com, or send us a tweet. Our handle is reddirtag. We'd like to thank Dr. Beatrix Haggard for not only putting up with Dr. Josh Lofton, but more importantly, joining us for this week on the podcast. Again, if you get a chance, visit our website, reddirtagronomy.com, to find out more information about our guests and to get any of the resources we discussed today on the podcast. For Dr. Josh Lofton, Dr. Brian Ernell, and Dr. Raiden Cherry, I am Dave Deacon, and we all want to thank you for listening. The proceeding is a copyrighted recording of Agnow Media, LLC, 2025. And yes, all rights are reserved.